5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, and welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I'm your host, Fran Okeson. With me today is Diane Baruka, who's a member of our Richmond County Club, as well as a club in New York City. We're going to move right along, because if we have some time at the end after our regular table topics session, we will... Kevin, what did you do?
Play the music again.
Keep going.
From where? The beginning again?
No,
we're still
live.
We're still live.
We shouldn't be. All right. Okay. I'm the first speaker today. My name is Fran Okeson. I'm doing speech number 2 in the Speaking to Inform Advanced Manual, Resources for Informing. I have 8 minutes, Joan. My evaluator is Sue Brooks. My title is How Will You Spend Your Summer Vacation? Part 2, because I did Part 1 this morning on the first show. So, hello everyone. I hope you'll enjoy hearing more of the places that you can go to visit on Staten Island. And there are many, many more that I didn't cover because I knew we wouldn't have time for Part 3. So let me start where I ended last time, the Jacques Marseille Museum of Tibetan Art. It's up on the hill below the Staten Island Light, and I will be asking the control room to put up two pictures that are one of the Jacques Marseille museum. Then I'll have some other pictures later on. All right? And this is Jacques Marseille. Many years ago, when I started taking my friends to the museum, it was full of artifacts, actual artifacts from Tibet and the surrounding places over there. Then there was some sort of a landslide from the hill down, and for a while there, they had to clean up the whole side of the hillside. And when I took some people up a couple of years ago, there weren't that many artifacts that they used to have. But there's a library there, there's an outside garden, and I do have a photograph that I would like to be seen. If someone would please put that up. Okay, yes, that's it. The gardens are beautiful. They had a big ceramic Buddha over on the side. That wasn't there the last time I was there. But what's inside, and the people inside are so gracious. It was a lot of fun. I took my 5th grade nun from St. Mary's School out in Flushing with us quite a few years ago. She and her traveling companion came over. I took them there, and there was a pillory outside the museum, and she wanted to see what it was like. So I have a picture at home. I tried to find the picture where she's there. I think that's the museum that had it. But anyway, let me tell you about they had a woman there who was, I guess you'd say, a curator of some sorts. She was a very old lady. She had keys that almost weighed her down, and she was very gracious to everyone, very particular about protecting everything that was there. But she could answer questions, any question you asked her. And this one time, she went over there, and the time that I had the sisters with me, and she had a big gong hanging there. And of course, Sister Mary Teresa was very interested. She taught something like that in high school where she was teaching. And the woman said, "Sister, because you're a sister, I'm going to allow you to beat the gong." And this nun, instead of tapping it, decided she was going to beat the gong. Bang! Everyone in the place dispersed. But anyway, let me just tell you a couple of the quick things that are there. I have the wrong glasses today, so I will read. I was warned this morning that I shouldn't have read so much, but let me do it. All right. It contains one of the largest collections of Tibetan art in the West, and a reproduction of a small Buddhist temple set among terraced stone sculpture gardens. Objects on display mostly from the 15th to the 19th centuries. They include bronze, several bronze things, other metal sculptures, ritual objects, and musical instruments. There's also a Tibetan Buddhist altar consecrated by the 14th Dalai Lama. So if you want to see something that you probably won't see too many other places in this area, try going up there. Now, let's go on. I've done the Snug Harbor this morning, so let me go on to something that's here. I made a list of some things. All right. One of the things at the Botanical Gardens on Staten Island isn't just a small pocket garden. It takes acres and acres. In fact, the Well, let me just tell you, there's a Ming-style New York Chinese Scholars Garden up there. It's the only authentic garden of its kind in this country. I did bring 2 pictures, and when you see the pictures I took quite a few years ago, you'll see that if you come to any of these places on Staten Island, please bring a camera, because you'll be very sorry if you don't. So let's just see if they're going to put my pictures up. Isaac, if you would mind. Okay. All right, that's the one with the little white bridge. No, well, I wanted the other one. All right, I'll talk about this one first. If you note the patio tiles that are embedded on the ground, there's crushed glass in between each one. And what we heard was that to build the Chinese Scholars Garden, they brought about 100 Chinese people from China, artisans, and they went into the governor's house that's on the site, and they found a lot of empty liquor bottles or beer bottles in the basement. So they decided to use what was on the property, and they crushed all that glass, and that's what they put between the white patio tiles to make a very beautiful setting. All right, let's just talk about something else then. Okay, let me just go back here a little bit. All right, I told about that. There's also the Noble Art Museum. If anybody knows, I forget his first name. Do you know? Is it John Noble?
John.
I'm pretty sure it's John Noble. John. And John Noble painted. He did pen sketches a lot. And there's a whole, I think it's Building D on the grounds over there. And there are all of his sketches. He used to go down to the waterfront. He'd sketch boats that were sinking. They were half in the water, half out of the water. I have a close friend from a long time ago who collected his, I guess you'd call them lithographs at that point, all framed in his home. I'm not going to say who he is or what it is, but he has a very impressive collection of the John Noble paintings, sketches. All right, let's go. All right, Staten Island Zoo. Now, you'd say, well, we have zoos in Jersey, we have zoos in Brooklyn, we have zoos all over the place. However, this is one of the nation's most celebrated collections of reptiles. The zoo is also known for, and I name these people because I do know them, the Senator John J. Markey Aquarium. John Markey is no longer with us. He was a dear friend of mine for many, many years. Former Borough President Ralph Lamberti, they named the tropical forest after him. They also have an African savanna and a children's farmyard. But I left for the last. The church right across the street from me is an Episcopal church, and the pastor there, Dr. Harder, had a lovely wife, Alma Harder. She joined my women's club of Tottenville, and they named the animal infirmary after her, the Alma Harder Animal Infirmary. And we were invited. We had 2 or 3 carloads of us from Tottenville Women's Club at the time that went to see this place be dedicated to her. They also had, I don't know how long you've been on the island, they had that jalopy, the big giant turtle, and he was a draw. I was trying to see how long he lived, but I ran out of time. So let me get on to my lighthouses. The Princess Bay Lighthouse, built on the Mount Loretta property in 1922, okay? And after 1922, it was called the Mount Loretta Light. That's what we always did. We didn't know it was the Princess Bay Light. Newdorp Light was built in the 1800s, fell to disrepair, was vandalized, it was abandoned in 1964, and Jack Vocal, who was on our show many years ago, who loves lighthouses, bought the lighthouse at auction in 1974. Staten Island Lighthouse. All right. Now, we all have told before that the Staten Island Lighthouse Museum is down in St. George, right next to the Staten Island Ferry. So let me tell you about the Staten Island Lighthouse. It was declared a national landmark in 1968. And I have to tell you, somebody at the first show said, tell your own stories, don't just read. So let me tell you the stories. There's a painting over on the side, my left side, of the Staten Island Light. And if I run a little over time, we won't have time at the end to waste time like we did in the first show. So let me go into this. In 1976, in the bicentennial, Nancy Orman, my co-Girl Scout leader, and I took our junior scouts wherever we could. Took the seniors with them, we cleaned beaches, we did all sorts of things. But I decided to take them and see if we could go to the top of the Staten Island Light. My first lighthouse on my 12th birthday was Montauk Point Light. I've been enamored of lighthouses ever since. I found out that you had to go to your senator, your state senator. Our state senator at the time was Jacob Javits. So I wrote him a letter and I told him who I was, what I did, what I like to do, and I would love to go up to the top of our light here because I went up to my 12th birthday to the Mount Toke Point light. Well, I found out that he has to arrange everything through the Coast Guard. So he arranged for us to meet the Coast Guard. I know I'm going a little over time, but we had like 5 or 6 minutes at the last show. So we met the 2 Coast Guardsmen who came over. They come over periodically to make sure everything is all right at the light. They took us up to the top. And when I came down, I was so thrilled that the next year, Stella Cowries, one of the South Shore Artists members who taught me how to paint, painted that as a gift to me. And I treasure that painting. I'm being very careful. But that's Montauk Point, Staten Island Light, 2 of my favorite lighthouses in the world. But there are so many other things on Staten Island. Am I correct?
You are correct.
So many other things. So I'll end my speech now. It might be part 3, part 4 down the line. Thank you all. My second speaker is Rachel Weiss. Was that you flashing the light at me to tell me to shut up?
No, to let you know that that was a live camera.
Okay. I look at the one that has the red light on
And
the top.
that one had the red light.
Okay. I like this one.
I know you like the middle one.
I thought you were telling me, be quiet, be quiet.
No, that was a flashing red back by our timers.
I'm not perfect.
None of us are.
What?
None of us are perfect.
What did she say?
None of us are perfect.
Oh, none of this. Oh, well, sometimes people think I am, but I'm not. Okay, let's go. Rachel, let's see what you're doing. You're doing number 4 in the Storytelling Advanced Manual. Oh, I need new glasses. This is the touching story. Oh, yes, we spoke about that. I gave you 8 minutes for this. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right. Diane, oh, you're her evaluator.
I'm her evaluator.
And Diane was saying that the title was very interesting. Okay, when you think it's over, it might not be. Let's all hear from Rachel Weiss.
Thank you, Madam Producer, our Toastmaster for the day. When you think it's over, it may not be. Let me tell you a story. First off, all of you are aware of the New York City Marathon because it starts right here on Staten Island. I've been involved with the New York City Marathon since 2006, so about 12 years. We lost 1 because of a hurricane, so we've had actually 11 marathons that I've been a part of. When I first started with the marathon team, I was situated at the bottom of the Verrazano-Narrows Bridge. They start on Staten Island and they run across the bridge and then down the bridge. And when they get to the bottom of the bridge, they're in Queens. And now they have to go uphill and then make a turn. Well, at that hour in the morning, because it starts at 6 a.m., a lot of them did their stretching because they're elite athletes, but some of them forgot or didn't do as good a job as it was because it was early. And as they come down the bridge, they may slip or fall, they may skin a knee, or they may just have a muscle cramp. At the beginning of the race, that's a tough thing to have happen to you. We have over 400 amateur radio operators working the whole race, all 26 and a half miles, 26.2 miles of the race. And we're there to be there for the athletes as well as those spectators. They know us because we wear special hats, and the mile captains have a special jacket. I'm now part of the senior staff for the New York City Marathon, coordinating, facilitating all of those amateur radio operators along the route and doing the logistics. I've walked the path multiple times. Never ran the race, but I have walked the race, making sure everything's prepared the day before, 2 days before, the week before. Now, how do you get to run in the marathon? Well, the marathon, as you know, is the first Sunday in November. Registration opens January 15th and closes February 15th. And then they have a drawing because there's a limited number of people that can actually participate, and that drawing is the last day of February, usually February 28th. They have to put in a non-refundable entry fee of $295, and all of the proceeds that is collected, and normally is a minimum donation of $3,000 to actually race, goes to charities that are all listed on the New York City Roadrunners website. Most marathon runners train from 12 to 20 weeks before the race. That's 4 months leading up to race day. And what does training mean? It means they're out on the road running 3 to 5 runs every week, preparing, with one of those runs going up to 50 miles, preparing for that 26.2 mile race. As I said, ham radio operators, we walk on race day from mile point to mile point, from mile point to mile point, so that there's someone that's covering that whole mile back and forth throughout the whole day. We're looking to see if there's someone that needs assistance. We're looking to see if there's an issue with spectators encroaching on the runners. If there's something that may have been dropped by one of the runners because as they're running, they shed their clothing because they start to get hot. They may have a water bottle that they throw to the side. We need to make sure that the raceway is clear so that none of the runners will trip or fall. We're also at the water stations, the medical tents, the aid stations. We're there with the logistics to make everything run smoothly. The athletes, again, range from being elite. Those are, professional athletes, those that, have taken the whole concept to another level. Some of these are going from one marathon to another. So they'll be at the Boston Marathon, the Los Angeles Marathon, the Miami Marathon, the New York City Marathon. And others may be the first time. They qualified in running the race to be able to participate in the race. And everyone has to have a medical clearance also that their heart is good, that their lungs are strong, and that they're not going to jeopardize themselves or jeopardize others by participating. So let me tell you a little about Leslie. This wasn't her first race, but she was excited about running the race here in New York City. New York City is one of the key places that people from all around the world come to participate in. They want to get that gold medallion saying that they completed the New York City Marathon. And this race, unlike others, isn't really about a time as to how quickly you finish. It's more about the fact that you did it. And the athletes are competing against their own time. Now, the elite athletes, of course, they're there to come in first place because there's money in it. Advertising, prestige. But someone like Leslie, it's just a matter of being able to finish the race. There are several challenge points along the course. The one I talked about when you're coming off the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, and that curve. And then you have the bridge between Brooklyn and Manhattan, and then bridge between Manhattan and the Bronx, and then coming back over that Bronx Bridge a second time. Well, they get to a point where they've just about lost all of their energy. They're hot. They're sweating. Their muscles are aching. They are short of breath. And at that 20-mile marker point, Leslie fell. Her leg cramped up. She thought that she could not go anymore. The amateur radio operator was right there, right at her side. We asked, what's wrong? What can we do? We were able to radio and call in one of the massage therapists to come and massage that muscle, to knead that muscle so that it would relax. And then we gave her a pep talk, and off she went, and she was able to finish the race. For her, when she fell with that cramp, she thought the race was over. She thought that she was done. It's because of the spectators ringing those bells, making those cheers, because of the amateur radio operators there to encourage and get the needed help that was required. She was able to accomplish her dream of finishing the New York City Marathon. And I'm Toastmaster.
Wow. Thank you very much, Rachel. What if somebody is very slow and they have to wait on the site for like 2 or 3 days? I meant this if somebody just wants to complete it and they just aren't at the end yet. Oh, well.
I'll tell you.
I'll have to ask you
I'll tell you
afterwards.
about it. I'll tell you about it.
Hello, Chris. You
Hi,
back again?
how's it going?
Take your hands out of the box.
That's a habit I got to work on.
Yeah, I meant to tell you that between the two shows. All right. Our newest member of our Richmond County Club just signed his application during the first show, and he'll be at, oh, this lady,
Ricky
Diane,
Stay?
is in Richmond County. Yes, he's joining us Wednesday. He's our newest member, and he looks like he's 15, but he isn't.
No, it looks about 17.
He's not 17.
Still not 17
It's
either.
about 17.
No, he
Getting
votes.
closer, though.
He votes, so yeah. I'm not saying anything else. He just looks like somebody's younger brother.
Much
Anyway.
younger brother, yeah.
Anyway, we need a couple more men in Richmond County, so that's good. All right, Chris, let me see what you're doing. You're doing your, this is the first time we're going to see the new Pathways Learning Experience Icebreaker. Diane, you're doing it Wednesday at Richmond
Yeah.
County, the same speech Wednesday. So now Joan and I are going to see who does a better job.
Oh,
The
no
newbie
competition?
or, no competition, do the best you can. The rest of us have to learn this. Anyway, Chris Isaac Obinovich, our director, he promised to behave himself and be very kind and generous and gracious.
Good to know.
And I liked your title. What am I doing here? Let's all welcome Chris Gomez.
I may use that.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for the introduction. And before I actually talk about myself, I just wanted to share a very short story with you guys. About a month into my job in real estate sales, my broker organized a talk session with the new agents to get us fired up and ready to prospect for clients. Early on in his routine, he asked the question, who in the room has an exact vision of where they want to be in 20 years? I raised my hand. I want to be a successful multifamily real estate investor, practicing motivational speaking, with a wife and starting a family by age 40. But to my surprise, I looked around the room to notice that my hand was the only one raised. Now, maybe they were all just shy, maybe I'm just young and naive. But regardless of either of those possibilities, my boss asked a room full of adults of different age groups who knows what they want to do with the 20 years ahead of themselves. And by the looks of it, none of them could say with certainty. Fellow Toastmasters, members of the community, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you all for the first time today. My name's Christopher Gomez. I'm 21 years old. I was born and raised here on Staten Island, and I recently graduated from Wagner College. However, just 4 short years ago, I was struggling to clarify the direction of my educational career. I was advised to pick a college based on what I wanted to study, which would have been really great advice for somebody who knew what they wanted to study. And I was not one of those people. I found myself without a clear-cut understanding of what I wanted to do exactly, even after I'd transferred colleges once and changed majors twice. So I did the thing that I'm convinced that no other millennial, my age at least, has ever dared to do. That's I resorted to literary material, actual books, for guidance. Titles began to line my shelves, authored by experts such as Tony Robbins, Steve Harvey, and Grant Cardone. This would be my first step into the realm of self-help, and it didn't take me very long to realize that these books were strengthening my understanding of who I was and what I was capable of becoming. Meanwhile, the pressure began to build surrounding my inability to decide on a single career path, and there were no shortage of options: investment banker, CPA, financial analyst. The problem was that these careers were not in line with anything that I was seriously interested in pursuing. I might not have known what job I wanted exactly, but I did know that the last thing I want to be is the guy who has a midlife crisis because he realizes he hates his line of work at 45. So that changed for me, however, when I discovered the field of real estate investment, in which people have accumulated massive fortunes through the purchase, development, and rental management of private properties. This is the field that I would commit myself to with certainty. And I've taken the first steps in joining my real estate firm as a sales agent, which has provided me with work experience and knowledge about the market. However, that is by no means the only major career aspiration that I've set for myself. My private studies into personal development led me to a book by a man named Napoleon Hill, who spent most of his life studying the successes of major business moguls among the ranks of Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan. In his book, Think and Grow Rich, he explained that one of the most pivotal factors in setting yourself up for success is definiteness of purpose, which he simply defined as certain knowledge of what you want and a burning desire to attain it. My exposure to these books by motivational speakers and life coaches helped me realize that my definite purpose is to do what they do. I want a career in which I can spread a message of positivity that I'm very passionate about, and I refuse to believe that requesting a line of work that taps into your soul is too much to ask for. As an aspiring motivational speaker, I want to help people gain access to the potential that they have to attain success in any aspect of their lives where they feel a deficiency of accomplishment. I plan on utilizing the challenges that lie ahead of me in real estate as mentors that will teach me what it takes to become successful on my own, and then relay these messages as they come to me on a public platform. A career in which I can offer my knowledge as a system of guidance, support, and hope in the minds of others would be a fulfilling one for me without a doubt in my mind. And I especially look forward to helping people discover exactly what it is they want out of life. Because if you don't know what it is you're aiming for, how can you possibly expect to be able to hit it? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Chris. It's going to be quite an asset to Richmond County Toastmasters, isn't he?
Yep.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, all right. John Weibel will be very happy to hear that.
Happy to hear it, yeah.
Chris, I'll bring you a DVD of this show on Wednesday night so you can see yourself. The first time you'll see this on television is next Saturday. All right? Our next speaker is Joan. Hello, Joan.
Hello.
Joan, isn't he going to be great at our club?
Oh, he sounds like an honest politician. I like him.
Whatever he is, he's got it.
That's
He's
an
terrific.
oxymoron.
All right, so Joan, you're doing speech number 9, Persuade with Power, and Chris is your evaluator. I figured between answering a question, speaking, and doing an evaluation, he's got the full Monty. All right, you have 6 minutes, Joan, and the danger of electronics. That's your title, and Chris, I thought you'd be very good evaluating Joan, so let's hear about your danger of electronics. Joan Mauricio.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, something very insidious, very intrusive, and seemingly innocent is taking over mankind. Our economy is being led by an evil media. Watch out! Alexa, Siri, Assistant, and Echo can be sent commands that you can't help or stop. Later, it will do more nefarious things. There's a lot of inventions that start out as a very, very innocent thing. It's meant to help us, but there are people along the line that get very genius, evil ideas, and they can turn something that's supposed to be very good for us into something very evil. And I'm going to explain just a little. Right now, the commercial industry is so full speed, gung-ho, go ahead and everyone jump on board and get one of these little communication devices. What it is instant information gratification. Say that fast once. It's an endless memory bank, and it serves many other purposes. And right now, it seems all well and fine. What it's doing, though, it's just lulling people into an unquestionable trust in a machine. It's enticing all of us. It's a machine that thinks for us and gives us all lazy brains. In order to keep a good memory, you need to exercise it, even if you have to start out with a list. Why would you give your list to something that somehow the energy could run out, and then you panic because you don't know what comes next in your life. We start out by saying, how did I ever live without you? Then we move out to, how could I possibly go on without you? And then one day the crook walks in the home, and he takes all the small valuables, including cash, jewelry, and this little device he can walk away with by throwing it in the pillowcase with everything else he's stolen that's small enough to sneak out with. Or maybe you're gone for the whole day, and you forgot you got your little puppy, and he's running around the house, and all of a sudden this voice comes on, and he attacks it because he thinks it's a toy to play with. And you come home and you find Alexa, Siri, or whatever other device you have has been pulled to pieces and it's no longer in use. I mean, it's almost comical, but you're trusting your whole self to something that you really shouldn't. Siri can be silenced in so many ways that I can't even think of. So you say to yourself, all right, what do you do without it? Some of you know what an EMP is, electromagnetic pulse, which could wipe out everything that's electronic, unless you protect it somehow. But on the other hand, even if this never happens, do you really want your machine taking over your life and you turn into a zombie that's almost mindless? Now, I can see this for people that have been through Alzheimer's stages, and this is their only way of doing the proper thing from 1 hour to the next. That makes a lot of sense. But it seems like it's become a trend. People that don't need it are getting it just because the guy next door has it or their favorite cousin has it. So it's becoming a style. It's not becoming a necessity. I say we shouldn't be so reliant on electronics. So the report continued. Besides picking on Siri, it said, robotics are growing much faster than humans. Algorithms hear and think better and faster and will soon take over. They've already done things like taking over the ad industry, the stock market, and a few other things that are very important. It says soon we'll have appliances that are at home that will fight with each other. Can you imagine this toaster telling the refrigerator off and both of them unplugging each other for the spite of it? There's no law right now against subliminal advertising, and that is putting thoughts in your head that you don't want, maybe even immoral, it may be criminal. You don't know what's going into that and what's going into you. So I would say to you, don't let anything in your life take over, especially when it's without your own knowledge, and you may not know when that point comes. Fellow Toastmasters, woohoo!
Thank you very much, Joan.
We need the music from Hal.
Okie dokie. And now we have Sue Brooks is back to do her number 10 speech. This is 8 minutes, Joan, and the title is Mentoring Moments. And
Mentoring moments.
oh, you know what? I never changed. Kevin, I'm going to put you in to evaluate her, okay?
Yes.
Because the woman who was supposed to be here had to cancel at the last minute. So will you listen very carefully? Thank you very much. Okay, so Kevin Thompson will evaluate your speech, Sue. Sue Brooks.
Madam Toastmaster, audience here in the studio, and our guests at home. I was so inspired by Fran Ukeson's speech on mentoring during our last show last month that I decided to share some mentoring moments with you this time. I have 3 mentoring moments I want to discuss. 3 people who made an impact on my life. I'm going to talk about Anne, Bill, and Paul, in that order alphabetically. Mentoring is so important as a Toastmaster, as a person who's in the workforce. And we are involved in mentoring in the Brand New Pathways program with every person at level 2 gets to present a speech on mentoring in their capacity as having been a protege. We're no longer using the term mentor and mentee, but mentor and protege. So that's going to be the new language moving forward. A few years ago, I was inspired by Ann Gilson, a past district governor, to get involved with a new advanced club down in Monmouth County. Ann said, "Sue, how about that advance club you were thinking about a few years ago when Annie was the district governor, was the area governor? So I said, we didn't really go anywhere with that advance club. I wasn't sure if there was any interest. She says, you could start it up again, you and Rebecca, and you could sponsor the club and use it towards your next DTM. Well, next DTM, I thought, whoever said anything about a next DTM? I already had one. Wasn't that good enough? Anne inspired me. I wasn't really even thinking about that next DTM, but very subtly, she put the idea in my head and suggested maybe we should start up that advance club. And she actually made a whole lot of sense because Monmouth County did not have an advance club, and sure, I was more than capable of serving as a sponsor, and she would help me along the way, and of course I would have Rebecca there. So Anne served as a mentor to help guide me through the process, but more so inspired me to begin the process of starting that advance club. I'm proud to say that with her guidance and leadership, and the leadership of others who took on the role of president and other officers in the club, we've now celebrated almost 3 years of being an advance club and have attained president's distinguished status every year since its inception. So great. Yay, talk of Monmouth. Next, I'd like to share my mentoring experience with Bill. Our current division director, Bill Atkins, is one of my proteges. During our many carpooling moments, way up north to various district events, contests, trainings, I inspired Bill to take the next step on his journey. We had many conversations. Everything was a lot of interaction back and forth. He asked good questions. I hopefully provided good answers. Until one day, I was stumped. Bill, I said, I have to do a presentation for one of the advanced manuals, and it has to do with sales training, and I'm not good at sales, and I don't really know what to do and say without feeling like I'm not authentic. I want to be authentic. Bill said, don't make it about you. Make it about them. Don't make it about sales. Make it about solving a problem. So during the course of our ride, I was able to find out a few very simple techniques whereby I could speak for 18 to 20 minutes, share some valuable tips, and not feel like I was being salesy or inauthentic. So the mentor-mentee relationship turned during that car ride. I successfully completed my speech. I got great feedback, and I even inspired somebody else in my club to become involved with Pathways as a guide. So I would say that was a success. The third person I'd like to speak about in terms of mentoring moments is Paul. Paul isn't on the show today. Our fellow Toastmaster Paul Scharf is again another mentor, but it wasn't one of these formal mentoring relationships where Paul sat down with me and said, Sue, do this, do this, do this. Paul is a mentor by example. I spoke about Paul during a previous speech many months ago, but in this mentoring moment, I wanted to reiterate what it is he did for me. During one of the district conferences, I sat at one of the dinner tables with Paul, and I actually sat next to him. And we were talking about what's next on our journeys. And at the time, I had not yet attained a DTM. I knew I had to serve as either a club sponsor, mentor, or coach during my term and help clubs in some way. And that would provide leadership to some of these clubs, help them get off the ground or help them succeed or help them learn what I've learned. Paul said, pick mentor. It's easy. I thought, okay. He said, but if you're getting a mentorship with a club, with a brand new club, don't tell them everything at all at once. Go step by step. Go to a meeting, share with them a few things that you've learned. Go to the next meeting, share something else. So I took Paul's advice and attained a mentorship. I went to several meetings of Dialogue Party Toastmasters, and between the efforts I put into the club and that of some of the other club members who were already existing Toastmasters, the club was able to achieve President's Distinguished in its inaugural year. So why am I sharing these stories with you about mentoring moments? It's not just that you will be able to share along your Pathways journey a mentoring story where you were the protege, but the ability to become a Pathways mentor by completing a path, by completing 3 more mentoring projects along the way, and for you to be able to share your expertise with lots of other people, whether it's in your Toastmasters club, in your profession, in your life, to be able to share what you've learned with other people, to see them grow and develop, is one of the greatest things that you could do for another person. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you. 3 great people. Paul Schaff has helped more people than he'll ever know. Absolutely. Yes, he's at his timeshare today. That's why he's not here with us. So, okay. So, Sue, oh, there again. Yes, she's standing. I keep forgetting. You evaluated my first speech. That was Peter's idea. He said, don't make her go through that dark room and trip over everybody. Keep her up there. Let her be the last speaker and the first evaluator. So please evaluate my speech.
Madam Toastmaster.
Okay.
Resources for Informing was the speech project that Fran shared with us and gave us part 2 of how will you spend your summer vacation. Moving along to various locations on Staten Island, Fran had some additional places that she wanted to share with us, but this time had a slightly different spin on it instead of just the first project that she informed us about earlier today. She spoke about the Jacques Marchais Tibet Museum, the Botanical Gardens on Staten Island, the John Noble Art Museum, Staten Island Zoo, lighthouses in both Prince Bay and St. George. I thought Fran did a great job describing the attributes of the various locations, and this time around, one of the challenges that Fran had to encounter and present to us was the ability to use graphics and visuals. Fran chose a few different pictures and had them displayed at the appropriate time, which greatly enhanced our enjoyment. She appealed to the needs of the audience by, again, sharing places to go, places people may not have known about, and described what was fun and interesting about each. To sum up, I think Fran did a great job, but one thing I might have wanted to have Fran done differently is to speak a little bit more slowly when announcing the name of the location at first. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sue. And our job as an evaluator is to find some point that can be improved.
Yes.
So I don't take umbrage at what you said.
Thank you very
I
much.
agree with it. Now, some people get very upset.
Yeah.
If you make a statement and said you could have done this better,
Some
they don't
people
want to
walk
hear.
out.
Well, I've never had anybody walk. In your other club, they walk out?
No. Someone was
Oh,
telling me a story. It wasn't my club, but they told the story
Well,
at
if I
my
ever
club
see you
of
get up
someone
in
who walked
Richmond
out.
County and
Yeah.
walk out, I'll know you don't like the evaluation. No, but if you don't give some insight into what can be improved, you know, we all do it in the gesture of good feelings. All right. Now, Diane, you're evaluating Rachel's speech. Oh, that should be
Yes,
very
I'm
interesting.
evaluating Rachel's speech.
Very good.
Rachel, thank you so much for this speech. We all need to know about what goes in to supporting the people who do the marathon. Thank you so much for giving this speech. It's called The Touching Story, this assignment, and truly, Irene's story is the story of many people who do the marathon. I myself have done 5 marathons. I've completed 5 marathons. And the training that goes into it, and then all the anticipation. And, well, personally, it's no longer hot by the time I finish a marathon, like 8 hours later. But for many people, it's still warm. I really enjoyed the story of Irene because she typifies the way that many people feel about doing a marathon or particularly the New York City Marathon, which, as far as I'm concerned, is not one of the nicest courses in the world, but it's a lot of people's dream to come to New York and do the marathon. And you told an exciting story. We had a lot of anticipation and a lot of excitement and a lot of building up to Irene. I would have wanted to hear it's skewed to be Irene's story as told from her perspective. I think that might have improved, like, it would have helped me to feel more touched if we would have told it a little more from Irene's perspective. But it was a wonderful story nonetheless. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you very much. Okay, and now Chris's speech was evaluated by Isaac, and the title, What Am I Doing Here? Isaac, you're on.
Madam Toastmaster, Madam Producer, fellow Toastmasters and viewing audience, especially Chris. Congratulations. Number one, congratulations. It's your icebreaker, and it's a step forward, a big step forward. First of all, I have to say that Chris is already an accomplished speaker, okay? Because the speech was delivered, I didn't see any nervousness, I didn't see any stuttering, I didn't hear any ahs or ums, which are very common in a first speech, especially in icebreaker. It was very well written speech and very well delivered speech, but I would like more conversational speech. Chris wants to be a motivational speaker, which is wonderful. When we are speaking to the audience wants a conversation, connection, okay? And that's accomplished by including stories, more personal stories. I gave Chris all the high marks because language was good, variety was good, eye contact was good, gestures were good. Language was a little bit more complicated than I would like to hear. It has to be, not has to be, should be a little bit simpler. So when we write a speech, the 8th grader should understand the speech. I'm not an 8th grader. I had a little difficulty. I had to concentrate more than usually to understand and how to say it, relate to the speech. Okay? So a little bit simpler language, okay? Shorter sentences, and it will be absolutely phenomenal speech. As a matter of fact, again, I'm going to say again, Chris is an accomplished speaker already. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Isaac. Very, very good. All right, now, Chris, I gave you another job today. I don't usually get new people to do all these different jobs, but I just, when we spoke, I thought,
He's ready to go.
no, I want his hands out of his pocket. That's why he's going like this. I suffered through the first speech this morning with the hands in the pocket. I mean, how can you do gestures if your hands are down in your pockets? All I have to do now is look, and he pulls them right out. So that's how you learn.
It is. It is how you learn.
All right. And you're going to evaluate, Joan,
Yes.
the danger of electronics. I thought you'd be very good doing that because you're young and she's got all these electronics around the house that I know nothing about. So, Chris, a minute and a half.
Of course. So, Joan, your speech on the danger of electronics. And it's true, I don't think you really could have picked a better person to evaluate this speech growing up around these electronics that she seems to be so scared of. For starters, the opening of the speech, you set this very dark and dismal tone, almost like the trailer of a horror movie, and I thought it was funny how you led into the joke telling us about how these forces that are endangering us are named Siri and Alexa, and I thought that brought out an aspect of your own sense of humor. So you were putting your own personality into the speech, which I think is a very important quality of a good speech that many people seem to forget about sometimes. As your speech progressed, you related it with personal anecdotes and stories about how you think these dangers are very true to the world and are increasing in danger by the day. So that showed that you're being very sincere about the topic and that you're being very honest, and it's something that you seem to be invested in mentally. One thing I think you could have done better was to depict a better image of how these dangers could seriously corrupt people, I guess, or interrupt our daily lives. But as far as your delivery goes, the material in the speech, it was all excellent. I gave you very, very good scores as far as the gestures and your eye contact. So it was a really great speech. Thank you.
Okay. And please, everyone, remember to give the manuals back to the speakers, because we'll be needing them during the week. And now, let me see. Kevin, will you please come? Hello, Kevin. You're up already.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even let me get to invite you up.
No, it's about being ready. I'm a former Boy Scout, and the motto is be prepared.
And you said you're coming next month?
The month after,
Not July, then.
that's correct.
August. Oh, okay. All right, so you're going to talk about Sue with her mentoring moments. Let's hear what you have to say about them. Kevin Thompson.
Fellow Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster, but most of all, Sue. Sue's speech was about mentoring, and she talked about three people, Ann, Bill, and Paul. And I'd like to, and what I liked about them, she touched about the different aspects of how they mentored and how she was mentored, and then how Bill helped mentor her. And the whole thing really was about relationships. So I'd like to take their names, the first letters of their names, A, B, and P, talk to you about what she did in terms of helping you to discover where Toastmasters is going. So she did A, which was Ann, B, which is Bill, P is for Paul, but she did a better path. And she did that to talk about pathways and how you should embrace pathways in terms of developing your speaking skills and the actual process of changing from a mentor-mentee to a mentor-protege. And the idea of a protege is to learn from a mentor who is knowledgeable and experienced. And I think that that's going to be the opportunity for us all as Toastmasters moving forward. So thank you so much, Sue. You did a great job. Look forward to hearing more from you.
Topic questions? And let's see, Joan, you're up first. I have Joan up on the top there.
But it's
No,
Kevin.
you said Kevin. Kevin's first.
Table topics?
Yeah.
Oh, did I
Still here.
switch it?
You
Time's
switched it.
moving. Ask the question.
Oh, I did. All right. Relax, relax, relax. Oh, what did I do?
You're probably looking at the earlier show.
4.5 minutes left. I'm just saying.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, Kevin, all right. Kevin, all right. You have a demanding career. That's why we don't see you as often as we should. In your free time, what kind of reading do you enjoy, Kevin Thompson?
Thank you. And so in my free time, I enjoy reading self-help books. It's an opportunity not only to develop myself, but also to provide additional knowledge so that when I go out and speak to others, that I have that knowledge in my back pocket to relate to them. I also belong to a number of different Toastmasters clubs, and it gives me the opportunity to speak on something off the cuff, like I'm doing now in your table topics, because the question that they ask could be about anything. And so it provides me with an opportunity to speak on a regular basis about something that would be important to that person or to the general audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Isaac, is he back out?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's right there.
Hello, Isaac. Isaac, let me go back a little bit here. I know that you have the one daughter. We spoke about her earlier this morning. Does your daughter, what's her name again?
Roseanne.
Roseanne, okay. I've met her. She's been here a couple of times. I've met your wife. Who does she take after more, you or your wife? Isaac Gavinovich.
Madam Table Topic Master, my fellow audience and home audience. Actually, we spoke about it with my daughter a number of times, and I cannot say like for sure. She took a little bit from everybody, but she calls me and she said, no, she said like some kind of an optimist, and my wife was a realistic pessimist, and my daughter said I am a realistic optimist. So something like that. So she took both of our characteristics and came up with something different. Sometimes she panics like my wife. Sometimes she's like cool-headed like me. I think I'm cool-headed. But sometimes I see a little bit in her of my wife and sometimes me. So I don't really know who she takes more after. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much. All right, Chris, I guess you're next.
Yes. Hello again.
Ah, the hands didn't even go in the pockets this time.
He
this
thought
time.
about it
See,
for a
he's
second. He thought about it for a second, brushed it, and just
He went and did the upper soup to get.
gave up.
See, you're learning very fast. All right,
my best.
Chris,
Yes.
if you could relive one of the happiest moments in your life before the age of 12, what would it be?
One of the happiest moments of my life before the age of 12. Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster, for the question, and members of the community. I would say one of the happiest moments of my life from my childhood would be my first time in Walt Disney World. Yes. My family used to love Disney so much. We would go down there at least once every year or two, even though I haven't actually been there since I was 15, so that's about 6 years now. But Walt Disney World Resort was really the pinnacle of my childhood. It would always give me something to look forward to, the next vacation that we would take to go down, just so I could go on all my favorite attractions, stay at the hotels, which are always very nice. The park itself runs fantastically. The employees and the facilities there, rather, are really up to par. But, of course, just as a child, I would just love to go down there to experience the wonder and all the colors, the magic, the music. And it's really an incredible memory from my childhood that I will cherish forever, and I can't wait to bring my own children down there someday. Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much. And we're almost out of time. So this was a great show with very few people here. But if anybody on Staten Island who would like to talk about their business, like last month we had Deborah Cantoni talking about Le Brielle. Just give me a call, and we'll see you all next month. Watch us on Saturdays, Channel 34, 7 p.m. Thank you very much. Okay. You know what I did? I prepared the shows without realizing I had the second set of questions wasn't for the show.
It was for next.
This is why I carry this